Hello, and welcome to Recruiting Hell. I'm glad you're here with us today. I'm your host, Rob Conlon. It's time to kick off episode 12 of Recruiting Hell and build our first advanced course for you, our listeners. We've built on the basics from my own knowledge, and now it's time to play at a higher stakes table. Today's episode is what I'm calling the Self-Marketing Masterclass, and I have an excellent guest for you today. We'll be diving into that topic here in just a moment with her. But for those of you who are just tuning into Recruiting Hell for the first time, I feel it's really important to outline the purpose of this show and why we call it Recruiting Hell. Recruiting Hell is a term I use to describe the frustration of job hunting in 2020. If you head to any major job site or employer, there are endless opportunities. But it's gotten more and more difficult to land those opportunities for the average person. The whole goal of this show is to give you the tools to help find a job that brings you both fulfillment and self-worth. Now, not everyone defines their self-worth on their job, but American culture places a heavy value on being a contributing member of society. And not hating what you do every day to pay the bills is, of course, a huge benefit to anyone. The whole goal of this show is to help you navigate through recruiting hell by avoiding the scam jobs, the bad employers, the too much work for too little pay, and the mental stress of being jobless or in a position that you hate. We're here to help keep your chin up after the 200th application with no response, your 50th rejection email this month, or a great opportunity ghosting you. So in a nutshell, this show is about helping people. And if I can help just one other person out there land a new position and get them out of recruiting hell, I'll call that a win. Back to today's topic. Self-marketing and being your own biggest cheerleader is something we talked about a number of episodes ago. And while it's taken us a little time to get back to that topic, we definitely did so as quickly as possible with the person who I think is quite possibly the greatest marketer I've ever met. And it is my pleasure to introduce to you our wonderful audience, Miss Sasha Canady, marketing strategist and owner of the Servant Marketing Company. Say hi, Sasha.
Hey, guys.
Welcome to the show, my friend. Tell us a bit about yourself, Sasha. Tell us a bit about your background and how it maybe pertains to helping someone find a job.
Sure. So first, Rob, I just want to thank you for having me here today.
Absolutely.
I am super pumped to be here and to be talking about building a personal brand, which is something I'm super passionate about, and basically selling yourself, monetizing what makes you unique. So thank you. But to tell you a little bit more about Servant Marketing Company, we focus on humanizing marketing for companies and helping them build life-changing brands. And we do that by helping them take a customer-led approach to basically everything they do. So whether that's their marketing strategy, their branding strategy, what product they make next, everything you do should be from the lens of your customer. And so that's what we help companies do. And how that relates to building a personal brand is it's very similar. You are selling yourself and a service that you can provide to somebody else. And at the end of the day, it's actually not about you. It's about what you can do for somebody else. So that is how it relates.
Now, you run a company called Servant Marketing Company. And obviously you market companies, not people, as you just said. But there's a good deal of overlap in those two. You mentioned personal brands and building those. What tips can a job seeker take from a company trying to build its brand to build their own?
Yeah, so whether you're building a personal brand or a company's brand, the steps are actually pretty similar. First, you want to figure out who you are and what you want to be known for. I like to refer to this as what's your unique selling proposition. So think of it as this interview question. I'm sure most of you listening have heard this before. Probably at the end of an interview, they say, all right, Rob, now out of everyone else who we're interviewing today that are totally qualified candidates, why should we hire you?
I have heard that a whole
yes,
boatload of times.
A boatload of times, I'm sure. And really, they're not looking for something they've heard from everybody else that day. They want to hear about what makes you unique. And so, whether that's what you've been through in your life and why it makes you who you are, or why what you're passionate about that makes you work harder than anybody else. Something that's personal and isn't a cliche that they're going to hear from somebody else. Like, I've heard, and I've been on the other side of many interviews, and we've asked that question, and a lot of people say, I will work harder than anyone else you've ever met. And that may be true. And that might feel very unique. Like, I know this is very true about myself, but at the end of the day, I heard that 3 times before you. So, like, you gotta really get personal to yourself and your experience. So I can go through mine if maybe that's a good example.
I think that's a perfect example. I just want to interject real quick here that I've maybe been that person who has said, I will outwork anybody. I'm like, I thought that was really good, and now I'm being told that's not the case. But again, that was years ago, things like that. Younger, dumber Rob, if you will. But that's it's interesting to hear that. Yeah, you could be the 3rd or 4th person to say that during the day. So you have to truly come up with something that is a unique gem, almost, if you will. So go ahead with yours, perhaps, and so we can give folks an idea of how to do theirs.
Totally. And I just want to comment, like, maybe you will outwork everyone else, but, like, why? Like, add in the why and why it's unique to you. I think that maybe that's the difference. Because that might actually be your unique selling proposition, that you will outwork anybody. But why? Why do you feel that way? Why do you do that? So, for example, mine, and I, have given this a couple times now, because it wasn't until recently that I figured out really what my own unique selling proposition was in this stage of my life. And that's that I've been through a lot of challenges in my life that have made me an extremely emotionally intelligent, empathetic, and mentally tough person. And because of that, I am the person, when we're sitting in a room of silence, I will be the one who speaks up. I will be the one who will have the tough, difficult conversations that need to be had because it's the right thing to do. And that's because of things that I've been through in my life that I'm just like, this is who I am. Like, I'm an emotional person, but I've channeled that into being empathetic towards others. So that'd be an example of something that I would say that, I can tell by your face right now, like, that kind of pulled your heartstrings a little bit.
Yeah, well, I know some of you've told me a lot of your story, and it just knowing all of that and how it piled into who you are today, I think is awesome.
It's so powerful, right?
It is. And you mentioned people by the why. Mm-hmm. Why are you the hardest worker? Why are you the best person for this fit? And finding one that does to them what yours just maybe did to me here, and again, you didn't tell any of the story. You said that there was a story. Right. But I put that all together myself. Mm-hmm. And that, again, I'm actually little bits here, little misty-eyed here, because I know you are just this gladiator when it comes to being you. And that's why I think you're a great guest for this show, and have some wonderful things for people to listen to. So
yeah, so you don't even have to go into, what your life story is. Just in 30 seconds or less, be able to tell people why you're different than everybody else.
Oh, so maybe almost like an elevator pitch.
Like an elevator pitch.
Episode 3, kids.
And that's just step 1. So step 2 really is defining your audience and becoming the solution to their problem. So one of my favorite questions to ask when I'm being interviewed is, what is the biggest challenge that's facing your company today or your business? Or what is the biggest challenge that your marketing team is facing, or your IT team, whatever industry you're in? And often, people will be impressed by that question because it shows that you're thinking bigger than just, your role. But also it really helps gauge, this is something they need help with. What can I pull from my experience or my skill set and say, here's how I will help you solve that problem, or here's how I think I could help solve that problem. And so I think that's a really big thing, is just knowing your audience of what they care about, and, the culture of the company, what the job description says they're looking for, and make sure you pull on those things for your answers to the questions.
So writing things down, obviously interview prep is something that we both know is very important, mm-hmm. but drilling deeper than perhaps what's on the About Us page.
Yes.
And thinking a little bit more abstractly as mm-hmm. to how you as a product, if you're a job interviewee, I should say, you as a product are being sold to them, and why they should come and take you along with them to mm-hmm. solve those bigger, maybe not apparently right at the tip of their tongue problems. Okay.
Right. Yep.
Good deal.
And then I would say the last step is really focus on building relationships and starting conversations. So networking is key, especially when you're trying to find your dream job. Like, you've got to find the right people who are doing what you want to do and that you'd love to work for, and network with them and start a conversation with them. Doesn't mean like, hey, can I come work for you? Like, tell them something, reach out to someone and say, I saw that you did this interview and like, I loved what you said here. And I had a quick question about that. Or, I do this and I was wondering, like, do you need any help with your social media? Like, I'd love to, if you ever need help, just let me know. Like, things like that, of starting conversations, not necessarily starting a job interview, is really important when you're looking for a job.
Right. Because people don't latch onto that. They oh God, this guy's coming to ask me about a job.
Right.
But if you make it about them, they'll glom onto that. And I've experienced it a lot with this show. We've been promoting this on LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram, and everything like that. But the biggest thing that I've ever gotten is, there's a lot of people I follow who are sales leaders or podcast thought leaders, things like that. And they, I could go ask one of them, and he runs this community that I want to see if I can get you into if you're doing any podcast type media in the future, because he's awesome and the community's awesome. But he mentioned all these things, and meeting him was one of the biggest things that changed this from, well, let's just make it a portfolio builder, into something that's more than that, for me at least. And I've gotten more notices from people who are actually, somebody's on LinkedIn in the past 2 weeks of prior to this, really ramping up our content strategy here. People who I never thought would deign to come by my page and things like that. And it's really a neat thing. So magnifying that for somebody's job search through connecting with the right people and talking about something other than, can you give me a job?
Right.
I think has a very big impact.
Yeah, so. Super important.
Cool. So moving to our next question here, that was a long little question. One question, 10 minutes here. Great. But I heard that one of the most important things for a brand, at least for a business brand, is to find a way to monetize it. Now, that's kind of a challenge. And I know we had some, when we were in pre-production for this, you and I had a bit of discussion about, what does this question mean? Obviously, a business can't operate for free and needs to bring in some sort of revenue stream to keep existing. The same thing goes for job hunting, though. So, from your perspective, Sasha, what is the equivalent of monetizing a personal brand for a job seeker?
Yeah, so for me, it's all about turning what you love and what you're passionate about and what you're good at into a service for others that you can monetize. So whether that is landing a full-time corporate job or freelancing your services or coaching services, what do you do that solves a problem for somebody else? I'm going to probably start to sound like a broken record, but that's really what it's all about. And it's about selling your solution to their problem. That's your product, is whatever you can do to solve their problem. But also know your worth and what you bring to the table that's different from everybody else. And so that's where the personal brand comes in. Anyone can have that service, but what do you do that's different?
Okay, so it's almost like going to a car dealership, and you can buy, they carry 5 different types of cars or whatever it might be. Now, again, that's a little bit, they don't have Fords and Dodges at the same thing, but you could theoretically have all these cars to choose from. Why should they pick the Ford over the Dodge, basically? Is that what you're saying? Is
right.
That monetization is giving the person or the company in this case, the reason to latch onto that person because that's a Ford person or whatever it might be, and that's the kind of thing that I need to fix my problem.
Right, and honestly, that could be the difference between getting offered $50,000 or getting offered $75,000. Like, it could be the answer, like your USP, your unique selling proposition, what you are that's different could be the difference between salary as well.
Interesting. Okay, that was actually, did not expect to hear that. I love